Notiko was my adopted aunt, like here's something, being Blasian, my mother was, she was disowned. So she married my father, came here, and his parents were from the South, or his family, his mom had passed. So basically, not only were we a mixed family, in the Black community, all to me, I thought it was middle class, but we aren't in apartments, we were in houses, even though we
Mm-hmm.
rented them, but we had houses and we had
Mm-hmm.
land.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so what was I going with that? Having
A mixed
Oh,
family.
a mixed family. So not only were we different, but we were disconnected from our exterior families. We had no connection to my father's family.
What's that?
Well, I think he went away and joined the military. He lied about his age because he was from Youngstown, Ohio,
Mm-hmm.
lower income, and the only
Ohio?
opportunities, Youngstown, Ohio,
Oh, okay.
the only opportunities was the military for a lot
Oh,
of Black men.
yeah.
So he lied about his age. I think he was 15 or 16, and you have to be, what, 18 to join the military?
Yeah, sure.
And so he married my mother, and just as though my mother was disowned, when my father died, I was going through his things and I found a letter, and it was from his mother. And she was like, don't bring this Jap to our, how could you marry? And I was like, oh, so it
What?
was on both sides. But she was 6'6", chew, chewing tobacco,
The
you know,
mom?
his mom.
Oh my
Yeah.
goodness.
And that's another thing about being blazing and disconnected. You don't know the history of either side of the family.
Yeah.
So the only connection we had was his first cousin who lives in New York,
Mm-hmm.
Aunt Molly. Oh my God.
And she's still around?
No, Aunt Molly just recently passed with COVID.
Oh.
Her story is a hell
Oh.
of a story. Aunt Molly was the first African American woman um, undercover detective in her
Wow.
precinct in New York.
Wow.
She went undercover, um, and she worked with Serpico.
What?
Serpico was an undercover cop that there's a movie called Serpico where Al Pacino plays him.
Oh,
And
okay.
and Aunt Molly was just tough as nails, you
Wow.
know. And so she had children, but that was my only connection to my
So you have
father.
cousins there?
I have cousins there. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So I do have that set of cousins.
Yeah.
Um, but other than that, the grandmother that I know was a Creole woman that my dad met on a fish pond. And her name was Alberta Anderson. And
Mm-hmm.
she was a great grandmother. She was, when
Wow.
I say a great grandmother, I don't mean great like old. I mean, she was a really good grandmother.
Oh.
So what happens is you get surrogate people, you know, that's what I love about the Black community is
Mm.
you will have that aunt, you will have that grandmother, even though, and you could talk about that too,
Mm-hmm.
even though you don't share any blood.
Yeah, they once they accept you, then
That's it. You're
you're one
good.
of
I'm going to
them.
turn the heat on.
You are?
Yeah, because you're cold and I got a little cold too. But I'm not doing it just because I got cold. But I figure that's a good enough reason you can't argue about.
You're gonna burn up my head.
Well, let's see.
I know. What if I become like a Michael Jackson in a Pepsi commercial?
You won't be like Michael Jackson in the Pepsi commercial. I guarantee it. I'll put it out. So, um, yeah. Did I finish that story? I think.
Yeah, like mixed family, and then
And that having
so
the
but
connection.
yeah, like even though you're not blooded, but
Mm-hmm.
you get once get accepted, then you'll always be the family.
Well, that's the thing because in the Black community, and I don't even want, it's not just the Black community. It's like with Esteban, after we got to know each other,
And that's
I was
funny how
Auntie
you guys
Russ.
met too.
Wow, that is funny how we met. Esteban, should I tell it? Yeah,
Yeah.
why don't we talk about it? We have a team that makes soy sauce and grits, and that team consists of right now 4 people, and we're good. We're good. on this team is my sister, which is another, like blended family situation. And sister was a project manager for AT&T for many years. I won't really tell how many years. And and she has joined. She's recently retired, but what she brings to Soy Sauce and Grits is she makes us professional. She keeps us on a
Oh
timeline,
yeah.
and
Yeah,
she
without
the
her,
notes.
we'll probably like,
Without her,
yeah, all over the place.
we would be all over the place. Because if you guys were depending on me, you would be all over the place. But then you would help, but you couldn't do what she does.
No, I wouldn't. I wouldn't be able to.
Mm-mm. And so what happened was I was doing phone banking for Joe Biden, I think.
Yeah. No,
Right?
no, Sanders. No, it was Joe Biden.
It was Joe Biden. It was the
Okay.
presidential. So I'm doing phone banking, and I called and I get this guy on the phone, and I was just explaining, and he was like, well, let me just see. I was like, okay, because of this and this. He was like, well, if I'm in the country, then yes, I'll vote for him. I was like, in the country? Well, where are you going? Because I'm just nosy like that. And so he said, the Philippines. And I was like, really? Next question. Well, what do you do? Are you like, like, why are you
Yeah.
going over here? Military? Is it medical? And he says, well, actually, it does have to do with the medical industry. Um, and I think it was during COVID. That's what it was.
Yeah, it was during the
It was
COVID. I
during
remember.
COVID because I was doing it in the backyard of my dear friend Heavenly's backyard. We were
Oh,
we were
okay.
phone banking.
Oh, you guys were doing that together?
We were doing it
Oh,
together.
that's
She was
so
in the house.
cute.
I was in the backyard.
Oh,
Oh,
that's so
that's my
cute.
little dog. That's my little dog.
So cute.
Heavenly is great.
She's so
She
cute.
is. Heavenly is Scott Wilson's other half. And Scott Wilson is the salt of the earth when it comes to this business of acting. He was in the heat of the night. Most people know him, and his fame blew up with The Walking Dead. He played
Oh.
Herschel in The Walking Dead. That being said, there's so much to tell. Um, so the guy says he's going to the Philippines, and I'm thinking, okay, I just want to know, well, what are you going? Is it medical, or you? It's like, well, actually, yes, because I sell COVID tests. I'm, working on a project of a program that sells COVID tests that are made in Korea. Really? Do tell. We need to talk later. So we ended up talking, and I got fascinated. I'm like, oh my God, in this business, because, in film and television, it's like we need good tests because everybody was afraid of COVID. Yeah. So he and I were talking, and we set up this big program, and it didn't really, it's like, Rose, what do you want to do? You want to sell COVID tests, or set up a lab, or do you want to make television and film? So it's like, okay, that's the route. So with that, but he and I stayed in close contact. So it all started with a Bernie Sanders joke. You know when that Bernie Sanders
hit the mitten and
the mitten, and everybody had him everywhere. So he put it in a juice scene. I mean, a juice still photograph. I was like, wow, you did this? He was like, yeah, I could do all of that. Come to find out, he's a technical genius. And so now he's on our team, helping us in a lot of different ways on soy sauce and grits, and other projects. Genius. But he's part of our team of soy sauce and grits. So there's Miriam, and there's Esteban, and there's me and Kumi. And we're good.